In this audio recording, I'll be speaking about finances and your mind. What are finances? What is finances, I mean? The word finance comes from a Latin word that means to secure a debt. Well, so to finance something is to secure bondage. How does this operate? As you know, the Roman Empire was quite large. It went all the way from Scotland to Morocco and from Portugal all the way to what we today call Iraq. So it was a very large region that the Romans controlled with their politics and their economics. And also outside that region had client kingdoms that were installed by Rome. So one way to secure that the economy was centered around Italy was to secure that there was debt amongst the economic elites throughout the empire. That's how Rome financed the empire, which was necessary because it costs a lot of silver and gold and bronze to finance all the military campaigns and all the public services. But why am I speaking about finance and your mind? Look, your mind is quite powerful and is quite effective. But most people aren't aware of this. They really aren't. Look, you are a spirit being with a soul living in a body. So you are an electric being first. I say electric being because you as a spirit being, that you as an energy being, that vibration is similar to raging electricity. It's a bit similar, so that's why I'm saying you are an electric being, okay? So you are an electric being living in a chemical construction. That chemical construction is your physical body. And your physical body is also generating magnetic energy. So you as a human being, you have an energy field around you. And how this energy field operates depends on your way of thinking, depends on your mind. A feeling is something physical. For example, someone pokes you in your leg, you feel that chemical impulse. A feeling is physical. But emotion is something spiritual. An emotion is spiritual energy that's floating. And often people confuse the two. So understand this, a feeling is something chemical, just a chemical reaction, and an emotion is energy that's in movement. Now sometimes if there's heavy energy that's located in your body, it will cause a physical feeling. But why? And that physical feeling, because there's heavy energy located in the body, it also cause chemical and physical dysfunction in the body, what we call sickness. But it's still energy that's behind it. So understand this, your mind is very powerful, and this is not something occult, this is something confirmed by the Bible. Look in the book of Proverbs and look also at the words that Jesus has spoken. He confirms this. So do your homework and do your research, you will find this out. As I mentioned before in one of my previous audio recordings, in the occult or in those mystery religions, let's leave the occult behind. In those mystery religions, for example, you have the New Age movements, you had the secret movement a few years back, talking about the law of attraction. Those mystery movements or mystery religions, they give you true and pure information. But because you are not born again, because you're not delivered, because you're not spiritual in your thinking, you won't be able to process that in a correct manner. And that's why even if you have the information, when you begin to use it, it will go wrong somewhere because you're not ready for it. But it is true information and beneficial information they gave to you. But the Ruach HaKodesh, that is the Holy Spirit, isn't present. That's why without you being aware of it, you're being lured into the paranormal. Not that you have an intention to be lured into the paranormal. You will even have bad or evil intentions. But because you're not delivered, your mindset is constructed towards the paranormal. That's how it is with worldly people. Their mind is, is a reflection of where they grew up and what they were exposed to in the world. And the world is a construction of conflict. So that's why their mind is not in agreement with the Word of God. That's why their mind is aligned with the paranormal. It does not mean that they are active in the paranormal. It's just that they either are not aware when paranormal happens or they participate in it without being aware of it. So what does this have to do with finances and your mind? Look, currency is just a substance that is used to exchange goods and services. In some societies, they use cattle, like cows, to exchange goods. In some communities, they just used resource. For example, you have a lot of fish, and I have a lot of apples. We trade them. But after a while, people began to invent certain, not invent, but they began to use certain objects just to value goods and services. Because if you have a lot of fish, when nobody wants fish, but you need other things, you're in trouble. I'll give an example. So, people that were rich often used gold and silver and bronze to measure, and people that were poor often used copper, stuff, or wood as currency. So that's currency. Money, that's the value you give to a currency. Now, currency is just a currency, that's it. If you have a $1 bill or if you have a €5 bill in your hand, it's just cat and paper with decorated to symbolize some power structure. That's all it is. Okay? There's no intrinsic spiritual value or something attached to it. The same if you are carrying a coin. So that's just currency. The only thing you can do with it is exchange it for something else, or exchange it for another currency. But it's just a social construction. Money is the emotional, is the energy investment you make into currency. There's a very big difference. You need to understand that, because often people confuse currency with money. Scripture does not state that currency is evil, because currency is just a method of exchange. But the word does state that the love of money is the root of all evil. Look, you can have a currency in a certain situation. For example, in the Middle Ages in England, they began to use wooden sticks as currency, and that remained until the British Empire became the dominant empire on the seas. That's why we have English today as the common language in the world. But many people don't know this. They used to have wooden sticks as money instead of paper money and coins. So it was a very cheap currency because anyone can look for wood, carve them, and use them as payment. And because of that, the economy flourished in the English kingdom. And that's why the British Empire became so great, so big. So a currency is just a currency. The same way you can use cows. Also, there's nothing wrong with a cow. But to love money, okay, that's something wrong. And here is what it comes down to. When you meditate, what do I mean with meditate? When you have a certain way of thinking, and that this way of thinking will affect your energy fields. You have three sources of energy fields in your body: your brain, your heart, and between your kidneys. That's why the Bible says that the Lord tested the heart and kidneys. Why would the Lord test kidneys? What does the kidney represent spiritually? That's your radar. That's why a lot of times people talk about the underbelly feeling. In Dutch, you call it the onderbuikgevoel. That's what I say it in Dutch. That means that if you notice something is wrong in your belly, you begin to feel a little bit bad. Why? Because you have a radar, an energy radar inside of you, and you also have multiple sources where energy is stored in your body, and then you have places where energy is leaking out. That's why, for example, in some place in China, when you are stressed out, they use acupuncture. They begin to stick needles in your skin on certain locations. Why are they doing that? Because those people have the knowledge and understanding where energy is leaking from the body through the skin, because it's at those places that there's a disturbance. But I'm not here to promote acupuncture. I'm just here to explain to you what's going on. So look, it works like this. There are chemical interactions. For example, you have that €5 bill and there's candy or there's a bread over there. Your body, your chemical construction that you live in, your body has a physical need. That's for food, and that's why you have a longing for food. So you have that other physical construction, that's the €5 bill, that's fabricated, and you're exchanging it for bread. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There is something wrong with you investing energy and ascribing value to that €5 bill. You just have to see it for what it is, a method of exchange, nothing else. Because this is what often happens. Because people don't want bad things to happen to them, that means being without food, because being without food means that your chemical construction falls apart, that means you die. I'm quite reserved to say you die, because it's simply a chemical construction falling apart and this earthly life is over, but you're not non-existent anymore. You'll be in show until the resurrection, but you understand this. We don't want the danger that we don't have any food or water or clothes. And you have to deal with other people so that's why you want other people to have a good view of you, so that they will treat you well, so that they won't avoid you. Why? Because as a kid, while growing up, you noticed without social interaction, there are chemical imbalances occurring inside of you. This is also proven scientifically. So that's why you want approval from others. So most people they remain in that primitive. And that's why people value currency, which that value that we gave it we call money. Why? Because people don't want the pain and the harm of their bodies being endangered. So they see that with a method of exchange, you can secure certain payments. That's why they began to see that method of payment as a god unto them. And that's what the Most High does not want. But most people cannot see this. It is true that when you have more methods of exchange, that you can make more purchases. That's true. And it's true that people will treat you better if you're not in need. Well, I'm not saying treating you better. It means that they will, if you have more currency, and then you can go to parties, you can dress well. So, and because you don't need people that much, because you have all that currency to do your exchanges, because that people will not use violence against you that much, and they won't treat you bad so that quickly. So that's a given fact. It happens. So-called rich people, so people with a lot of currency, have a lot of so-called friends, a lot of associates. So you have all that relief when you have a lot of currency. So people begin to think, okay, there's a lot of relief from what they perceive danger when you have a lot of currency, so they need more currency. So they began to invest, they began to finance currency. And it's only when you finance currency that it becomes money. So to finance something, when people think about financing, immediately think about someone coming with a lot of cash and say, here, I finance this business. No, that's just the chemical manifestation of what a finance is. To finance something means that you are in agreement with something, and because your mind is in agreement with it, your mind generates energy towards it. Okay, let me give us a quick example. For example, if you are a heterosexual male and you have a high sex drive and you are pro heterosexual relations, what happens? You are financing heterosexual relations because your mind is in agreement with it. So because your body is generating all that energy, because we have a high sex drive, what are you doing? When you keep thinking about attractive females, you are an electric being, so what will happen? As a consequence, you will attract whatever you're meditating on. And so, without you making that much effort, you encounter often the types of women that you see as attractive. That does not mean that the people you attract are going to be good to you. Alright? But it's just because you are financing that outcome that the energy that is coming out of you is attracting it to manifest it. Now, of course, as a human being, you are finite. You're not the most high that you can just think of something and speak it out and bang, it's just there. But you're made in the most high's image. So that means that your mind, and when you speak your mind, because look, you can say anything with your mouth. Words are just sounds in a certain order that we have agreed upon. That's what words are. For example, key, that sound in English means a device to open a door, to open a lock. Key in Japanese means a tree, but key can also mean a diary in Japanese. So words are sounds in a certain order that we've agreed and ascribed a meaning to. You can say any sound with your mouth, but the moment you speak your mind, the moment you speak out of agreement from your mind, there's energy behind it. And look, if your mind is not in order, then what you will decree it will have effect, but it will activate the paranormal and not the supernatural. And what does this have to do with money and with finance? You should understand this. Just because someone has a lot of currency, that does not mean they are blessed. Just because someone has a lot of currency, that does not mean they did it right. Look, there are a lot of people with a lot of currency, and they are poor and impoverished on the inside, and they have terrible lives, terrible existences. But we, in the world, we see them with a lot of currency, with a beautiful car and a beautiful house, and we think they've made it. No, they didn't. They have a poor mindset, they have inner poverty, and the only thing that happens is that evil spirits that were activated by their negative meditation manifested a lot of currency to them, and now they have a lot of currency to manifest their inner poverty. So they live in a big house, they have a beautiful car, but they have all this hostility, they have all those diseases they have, and they have all these dangers around them. So they're not rich, they're just poor, miserable people with a lot of currency. And why? They are financing their own misery. But because the manifestation is in the form of a lot of currency, they are fooled into thinking that things are going great with them. Look, without them being aware of it, they are financing demons. Because demons need that waste energy in order to operate. And sometimes, now, the demons will manifest it in a lot of currency for you, but is that a blessing? I don't think so. I don't. And the truth is, it's not. And haven't you noticed something? If there's a debt collector coming at your house saying you still have a debt, you need to pay this off, why are they threatening you? Why do they keep calling you and stalking you on the phone that you have a debt? Or why, when they send a letter to you or an email, they say you have to pay within 5 days or else, and after they highlight that part, that threat. Why are they doing that? I'm revealing onto you, it's a occult strategy. Here's how it works. When you are in the stress mode, your aura. What's your aura? I hate to use worldly terms, but I need it because that's how people are used to call it. Your aura is your energy field that's generated by you as a spirit being, and also on the chemical level throughout your body. Normally, your aura is a magnetic electric shield that keeps negative energy and negative tensions outside. That does not mean that you won't sense any happiness. Okay, but even when you're sensing happiness, if your mind is in order, then your aura is still like a shield protecting you. But once you are in the stress and the stress prolongs, well, that means when you're worrying, your aura begins to have defects in it. Now you are generating waste energy without you being aware of it, and that waste energy is causing holes and cracks in your aura. And when this happens, you are vulnerable for psychic attacks. Those are negative energy attacks that comes from worldly people, and you're also vulnerable to be influenced by unclean spirits. And look at this, when you have cracks and holes in your aura, it's then that you begin to attract danger onto you. Let me give an illustration. Let's say you have a young lady, well, she's 32, I still call her young. She's married, she has one kid, the kid is 4 years old, and now suddenly you have this debt collector coming at her house, leaving a note behind, in which says that she has to pay 30,000 euros. The couple, she and her husband, is thinking, hold on a minute, what's this? And she finds out it's because of her student loan. And here's the thing, she graduated almost 12 years ago. And she only had a loan for about 2 years. So it's impossible that the interest could have made it 30,000 euros. And here's the thing. According to the law in her land, after 5 years, if a debt is not, if there's no agreement for a debt, and the one that is, and the one that demands the debt does not enforce any action to get payments after 5 years, the debt has to be cancelled. Even if there was an agreement but the debtor could not pay, after 5 years it must be over. But she's not aware of it. The debt collector is, but he's not informing her. And the people that gave her the student loan, the bank is not even permitted to send the debt collector. But they just want to make some extra money. Not because they need it. Why do they want to make extra money? Because this is how it works. Many of those people that are in the financial sector, I'm not saying all, I'm not saying that many of them are involved with demons. Okay, and those demons need to have waste energy to operate. So they have to finance those demons by causing stress amongst people, so the demons can have their food and they have resources. Now, this young woman, let's call her Paula and her husband now begin to stress. They're not believers, okay? So they begin to stress. They can think, how we're going to pay this 30,000 euros? We still have to pay our mortgage. We have to do this. So what happens now? As a couple, both of them, their auras become weaker and weaker. So the energy they're generating is now dense, is now heavy. They're now generating waste energy, and energy is affecting their house. It's not affecting their marriage. It's also affecting their son. So also their son is being traumatized by energy. And look what happens now. Their bodies are now becoming sick because of that worrying. And here's the thing, the debt collector went to the local court of law to ask for permission to force into their homes to confiscate their goods. But the judge made plain, listen, it's past 5 years, you can't do this. But the debt collector kept on setting threats. And what happened? After a while, the debt collector didn't even have the chance to come to the house, they've lost their house. Because the husband lost a job, because he couldn't function well on the job anymore, and they had to move out. So what happened? And when they moved out, now, because they had a mortgage, now that same bank that sent that debt collector for some student loan that Paula had years, more than a decade ago, that same bank now had the right legally to confiscate the goods and their house. So basically they robbed Paula and her husband. They robbed a whole family. They couldn't do it by force, by physical force, by using physical violence. They did it by, they did it by making their victims a part of their own victimization, without them being aware of it. Look, currency is a part of daily life right now, so you are being wise with currency. I'm not advocating you to waste money and all of that. I'm just to waste currency. I just want to point you out that finances are a spiritual thing first, not a chemical transaction. The chemical transaction is just a manifestation of what's going on in the spiritual. Look, there are people, even people in the world, when they have financial pressure, they choose not to dwell on it. And they don't know how they're going to fix that situation, but some kind of way, that circumstance is not harming them. That circumstance, they tend to exploit it. Why? Because such people, they've understood how the paranormal operates. They may not be believers, they may not even understand the difference between the supernatural and the paranormal, they may not even understand any of it. But they've understand how the mind and the body operates. They've understood how the world operates through vibrations and energy. And there are a lot of believers that lack this understanding. Listen, there are a lot of believers that are putting up with stuff they should never put up with. And then you see worldly people, the worldly people they see have their curses on them, but still those worldly people don't go through the same stuff they're going through. And those believers then think, Lord, why are you allowing the wicked to prosper? Look, the wicked is prospering into their own damnation. But they have a lot of relief. First of all, because they are part of the world, so demons will cause them relief. Demons won't bother them that much. That's one thing. And secondly, demons give them valuable information for them to maintain some relief around them. Because demons understand that people see that relief as a blessing. And now you are a believer, and you lack a lot of important understanding, and because of that, it works to your disadvantage. And why? Because you haven't agreed with the Most High on such areas. So lack of understanding or ignorance can kill you. So it's not something good. That's why I've recorded this for you to understand that finances are something spiritual. So ask yourself right now, what are you financing? I mean it, what are you financing? Look, don't spend too much. Look, didn't Christ said that we shouldn't be overtaken by the cares of this life, by the cares of the world. Currency issues are a manifestation of the cares of this life and the cares of this world. Beforehand, you manage them by seeking ways to make chemical efforts just to change situations. That's what most people do. Now you understand it has to be done spiritually first before it has a different manifestation. And look, I'm not saying this for you to look for black magical ways to manifest a lot of currency. Don't do that, because just having a lot of currency won't solve the issues around you. Just trust the Most High, continue in His word, and be at peace. Shalom.